Welcome to Chalk Talk, the podcast where we dive deep into the topics that matter most to family owned businesses, entrepreneurs, and anyone navigating the complex world of business leadership. I'm Tiffani Carter, and I'm here with Rory Sheppard. We're here excited to bring you insights, strategies, and discussions that reflect the very essence of what we do here at Action Coach of West Texas. All right, Rory, we have a listener question today.
Oh, fantastic.
One of our listeners said, hey, you said to ask, so I'm asking. So Craig asked, when do you know when I'm ready to sell? How do I know I'm ready to sell?
Yeah. So how do I know I'm ready to sell my business? Right. So that is a great question. And I would love to have a 30-second answer that we could move on with, but it's probably going to take us a little bit longer to unpack this. But
right.
So let's just think about that from most business owners when they started their business or when they started a business, bought a business, kind of moved into a new role of ownership, right? That could be through a generational transition or whatever, but they had a set of hopes and dreams for what the company would do, what the business would do for them over time. So that might have been, vacations or wealth or time I get to spend with my family, right? So I want to go from working 60 or 70 hours a week and never getting to go to the kids' recitals or football games or whatever that is, to know I want to be able to do those things. And so they had a set of hopes and dreams that they had when they started the business. The next question then would be, after you get in, do you step away from those hopes and dreams, or do you continue to hold that and say, no, that's the North Star. That's where I'm going to be. I want to be able to take 3 weeks of vacation every year, or I want to take 2 3-week vacations every year, whatever that is for you, right? What does the business provide?
Right.
And then another thing that we know is that every business owner will have an exit. So when I go into business, I just need to realize that there will be a day when I exit. So the 3 exit strategies are, one is that back to that transition to the next generation. Right? It's a family owned and operated business. I want my kids or my grandkids or my nieces and nephews to run this business. The second one would be just an outright sale in a wealth event. That idea that, no, it is time for me to sell. Back to Craig's question, right? When is it time for me to sell? And then the third one would be, I want to have my business in a condition to where I've got a general manager and a leadership team that are running the business. And my exit is really exit out of the day-to-day operations and into passive income. We used to call that mailbox money, but I mean, you could call it whatever you want, but I want to be in a spot to where that I'm going to come in for 4 to 6 hours a week, right? And I'm going to do a couple of things that I really love doing. And then I'm going to go back home, go spend time with my kids or my grandkids or kids and grandkids, those kind of activities. And so those are kind of the 3 exit strategies. Now, Craig's question was really all around that second one of when do I know my business is ready to sell?
Right.
And so one of the processes that we go through with business leaders is just saying, what are your expectations, or what do you want the business to be worth at the point when you say, I'm ready to sell? And so not unlike planning your vacation or planning a trip, that's the destination. And then we start working backwards from there. Rarely is that an 18-month kind of journey. Oftentimes that's going to be a 3 to 5 to 7 year kind of progress that we go from where am I today to where do I want to be?
Right.
So let's, you could pick a number, $3.5 million or $5 million or $7 million. That's what I want to sell my business for. And then I need to know where I am today. And so one of the tools that we have is a business valuation tool where we will take the last 3 years of your tax returns, and then we can give you 4 different numbers that 2 of those are going to be within 95%. You're going to be on the 95 percentile side of this is what your business is worth based on assets, income, cash flow, those kind of things, we'll be able to tell you with pretty high likelihood that this is what that business is worth. Mm-hmm. So now I've got a starting point and an end point. And so then what I have to do is map out, what do I have to do to make that transition? Mm-hmm. So for Craig, it would be, let's find out what the end state, your desire is. What is that number for you? Where am I today? And then start building out a very concrete, very explicit plan that says, okay, then this is what we have to do to get there. Now, the other pieces on that could be, not only do I want it to be worth a dollar amount, but I've got a certain number of customers that I want to serve, or I've got an impact in the community that I want to make. So it may not be, I mean, your end state may not be $5 million. Your end state may be, I want to be able to impact the lives of 10,000 people in my community because I do these things through nonprofit giving.
Right.
Fantastic. Let's figure out what that end state is. What does success look like for you? And then map the plan.
I love that, because when we do that, when we get there, we know, and then we get to decide. Right? We have options at that point in time.
Yeah, and the clarity that I have when I go through the process and just say, no, this is what success. I mean, I will know I'm successful when. Just going through that process and saying, that's the stake I want to plant in the ground. I mean, the clarity that I get, that in some cases that's liberating for folks. For other folks, that's the dollar amount we want, or that's the impact that we want to make. Mm-hmm. And then we start working the plan and say, it's not going to take you 7 years, right? On your current path, you can do that in 4 years instead of 7.
Right.
And then you get to decide at the 4-year mark, do I keep going? Mm-hmm. Or do I say, I've achieved it, I'm ready to go to something else? I do want to touch on that because I think one of the things that we talk about, working with family businesses, and I've been fortunate to work in very large, very complex family businesses most of my career. Mm-hmm. And so often we get a little bit hung up on saying that I want to transition this to the next generation. That may not be your legacy. Your legacy may be the generational wealth. Your legacy may be the business acumen that you teach your children, but then you sell this business and they get to buy another one where their passions are. Right. So I would say be less concerned about the family store being the legacy that I transition to the next generation, and say, what about me? What about my integrity? What about my business acumen? Am I transitioning to my children? And then let them choose what that legacy means for them, as opposed to saying, no, it's got to be our store. Right. Yeah. But I hope that helps for Craig on how do I know when I'm ready to sell is, well, what does success look like? And then let's work backwards from there.
That's great. That's great. Well, if you're like Craig and you want to give us a burning topic or question for us to explore, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Your insights and challenges are what drive this podcast.
Absolutely. And remember, only action gets you closer to your dreams. So do something today that your future self will thank you for.